I think one of my favourite parts about the first two Doom games back in the 1990s was its simplicity. There was no big preamble, there was no big CGI trailer. You just chose your difficulty, you hit the start button, and you're away, and that's it. You dropped into Mars, and you're fighting demons, and it was just pure gameplay, and you knew what you were getting from the start. I remember walking around computer shops like PC World and Tandy or Curry's, and a lot of the staff would always have the Doom demo running in the background. So hearing the shotgun and the like metallic kind of like squeal from the demons, it kind of really takes me back and hits them nostalgia buttons. When Doom 3 came along, I could see what the developers were trying to do. They were trying to add a bit more texture and a bit more horror to the game, and I kind of liked that. The first opening sequence where you see the first demon, it was kind of really dramatic and like quite tense. But the more story and the more preamble you add, the more kind of like you take away from that pure feeling of like simplicity from the first games. Then we had probably like 2 decades of Doom just appearing everywhere on every system. You know, like we had Doom 64 and all the rest of it. And yeah, they were all good games, but I think the series and the IP needed a reset. And in 2016, that's what we got. So I think it's fair to say that Doom 2016, as most people refer to it as, just because there's no number, so it's like, what year was it made? And it's kind of stuck. Yeah, it came out of nowhere, and it just absolutely nailed it. They got all the atmosphere. We were back on Mars. You had the horror elements to it as well. Like you woke up on a slab and you were like, you're about to be like eviscerated, and you get this pistol and you start, and it felt like a real homage to the first game. It just they just nailed every part of it. The demons, the violence, the speed, the level design, the atmosphere. Doom 2016 was an absolute triumph. You can almost see the developers of 2016 sitting down and thinking, right, what are we going to do for the next game, and how can we improve things? And I think they did what most of us would do. They made the game bigger, more enemies on screen, made the settings a lot more grandiose, and just generally gave you more. But in a way, that's kind of like taking away from what the first game did. I think one of the most popular aspects of 2016 was the glory kills. They added in these really dramatic, gory kills where if you got an enemy down to its low health, it would start to flash. You would then run up and press a button, and you would do a glory kill, like a really gross kind of like graphic execution. There was even directional elements, so if you attacked it from behind or from the side, you had a different type of kill. And it kind of broke combat up, and it made you feel like a badass, which is what you want to feel like when you're playing Doom. And I loved it. But I think for Eternal, they took that mechanic and they tied it into the loot system, and it just felt like it was completely oversaturated, and it kind of spoilt it. So in Doom Dark Ages, they seem to have swung completely the other way and almost removed the glory kill system entirely. So when you now kill enemies, most of them just explode and just into a shower of loot. There are bigger enemies, like boss character enemies, that give you a stat boost. Now you can get them into like a glory kill situation, and then you run up and you essentially rip their heart out, and it's like the same animation almost every time. It is pretty cool how they do it, but that directional kind of like in the middle of the fight glory kill system seems to have been removed. There are some enemies that do flash when they're on low health, but it's almost just like you kick them and they explode. So I think that's a real shame. I hope for the next Doom game they get the balance right again. Doom 2016 was perfect, and they didn't need to mess with it. And yeah, I hope they rebalance that. So, as the title might suggest, Doom Dark Ages is very much Dark Ages themed. Now, if you don't know, we're not actually on planet Earth back in the Dark Ages. It's just that whole setting has been taken and used for the theme of the game. We're on an alien planet, and called Argent Dunur. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, probably not. And you're essentially almost like a mercenary on loan. This race of people are in the ship, basically. They're being attacked by the forces of hell, and this space station or the ship in orbit, every time they're in the ship, they drop down the Doomslayer into the thick of things, and he runs in and does his thing. And that's essentially what you spend the entire game doing. You're running around and you're fighting for these humans. So overall, I think Doom Dark Ages is a fantastic Doom game. I've got some issues with the game in some ways, but yeah, overall it's a fantastic Doom game. And if you're a fan of 2016, I think you'd be more at home with this than Eternal. They've gone back to a lot of what made that game great. So they've got rid of the glory kill system where it was linked to ammo, so you were constantly looking for ammo. This game, I very rarely even thought about ammo. You're constantly picking it up. It's not an issue at all. You've also got a far more like focus on melee combat. So you've got this shield, and it works into almost everything. So when you get green attacks coming towards you, you can parry them. Now as you get further in the game, you get these runes that are attached to the shield, and they have various effects. Now once I got further in the game, I was having a lot more fun with the game. So for example, my favourite rune is the one that like activates like a little turret on your shoulder. So every time you do a parry, your turret on your shoulder activates and starts like gunning down at all the small stuff around you. It's absolutely fantastic. You've also got ones like do like a shockwave, which like fires the damage back towards the enemies. And there's even one that's like a Thor thing, like a lightning effect. They've also got this system where you can kind of throw yourself and shield charge at enemies, and that's a great way to close distances. There'll be situations where you as a Doomslayer are chucking yourself off these like massive drops, and as you're falling down you can see like a crowd of enemies, and you just lock onto them and shield charge them from high up, and it's a really good feeling. In fact, just while I'm on about landing on enemies, they've got a really nice weight to this Doomslayer. So even if you drop off like a relatively small height, the weight and the momentum of the Doomslayer lands, and you can feel the rock and the metal below your feet crunching and bending at the weight of your presence. So they've really worked well on stuff like that. The shield as well, you can throw it like a Captain America disc almost, and that like cuts through enemies. The bigger ones, it kind of grinds into them. They've got this like chainsaw effect on the outside of the shield, so it's not only a shield, it's also like a cutting device. And some of the better glory kills are still in the game. You kind of like get them on the floor and chop their heads off with the chainsaw. So yeah, the design, the way they've implemented the shield, and the general combat loop is absolutely fantastic. Couldn't ask for more.
Established.
So, what is not to love about getting into a massive building-sized mech and smashing the shit out of everything around you, literally wading through buildings just to get to your enemies? There's nothing to not like about that. I remember watching films like Robot Jox back in the day, and then more recently Pacific Rim. Now, the story and the acting in them films isn't great, but the moment when the pilots get inside the mech and it's all powering up, them's the best parts in the film for me. And so when you saw the Doomslayer basically doing the same thing, getting inside his mech and like powering it up, and then all the limbs activating, yeah, absolutely fantastic. But what follows is a bit of a letdown, really. The combat is essentially just punching other Titan-sized creatures in the face, doing a bit of a dodge mechanic, and then finishing them off with like another special attack. There are some parts where you get like a ranged weapon, but they're very simplistic, and I think they were counting on the effect more than the actual substance, and I think that was a mistake, because these mech parts, as much as they are visually impressive, they're very pedestrian, and they don't really offer people much in terms of gameplay, which is a shame, really.
Thrusters online.
Now, I saw a few reviews before I started putting my reviews together, and I think pretty much every single one of them mentioned the flying parts where you're on a dragon. Now, yeah, they've got a dragon, it's cybernetic, they've got these like massive like energy wings, it looks amazing, they've done so well with the design. And when you got on it, you were like, right, here we go, this is great. Now, I already heard that the flying parts were rubbish, or they were very boring and very like, you know, just like dialed in. I actually really liked them. Maybe my expectations were so low at that point. The actual flying parts where you're on the dragon, I very much enjoyed them. And I know the flying mechanics are not great. You're in either flying mode where you're just moving around, or boost mode where you're flying and you're using your mouse to kind of aim where you're going. You've got like a basic machine gun attack, and then when you get these bigger enemies, you kind of like hold your right mouse button, you dodge the attack, and that gives you like a powered up attack, which you then take down the enemies with. Very simple stuff. I think with the flying parts, the spectacle was enough to make me enjoy it. Like, you're flying around these massive bases, but the main part I think I enjoyed was the fact that they've not just got you on the dragon the entire way through. You actually, once you've done some combat, you actually land with your dragon, get off your dragon, and in real time move to like a combat scenario. Sometimes like an arena, or sometimes like an enemy ship. You've got to get inside and disable something. Then you literally like fall from the debris of the damaged ship back onto the back of your dragon in real time. So, you know, hats off to the developers for making that happen with no slowdown. The engine keeps it going, and yeah, I think the flying parts, they're not overly used. I think there's 2 main sections for the game and another little one. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed the flying parts, and I think if you just kind of accept they're a bit of like a palate cleanser from the main combat of the game, you'll probably enjoy it a lot more. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed it.
Novik, the flare is en route.
Assault mode engaged.
So I've got a few more things to go over before I finish my review. I think one of the most important parts about Doom, other than the actual graphics and the gameplay, is the sound of the music. The sound effects are nothing to write home about in terms of like changes. They're excellent, and they have been through the last other 2 Doom games. So yeah, all the weapons sound amazing. All the demons have the correct sounds. They all sound great. A lot of good work has been done here, and yeah, there's nothing, you know, stepping out of line from the last 2 games. The music itself is slightly a slight downgrade, I would say. Now, Mick Gordon was lost, unfortunately, for this one. There was a dispute. I'm not going to go into the details, but basically, him and ID have parted ways. So for this one, they got a woman called Laura Shigihara, and I think she does a really good job of stepping in and taking over where Mick left. I wouldn't say it's as good as what Mick Gordon did, but it does the job, and it's really good. The sequence I showed at the beginning of the review, where the Doomslayer lands and you can hear the music kicking in, that's what you can expect. It's really good. It just never gets to that tempo where where Mick gets to, but it's almost indistinguishable to the average player, I'd say. So nothing to worry about there. Performance, as I've touched on, is excellent. It's about as good as it can get. This will run on almost any system, and it's surprising, really, considering how damn good the game looks. All the textures are well made, the levels are vast, and whether you like that as in terms of a gameplay choice or a level design choice, the actual fact is they're massive and they're well made, and you know they run like shit off a shovel. So I couldn't ask for any more with performance. My system is like aging now. Actually, it's a 3080 Ti, and yeah, I'm playing on maximum settings at 1440p, and you can see by my my footage the frame rate is beautiful. So yeah, no problems there. I've just got one more real criticism for the game before we wrap this up, and that is that this one feels a bit safe. Now, I'm not saying the combat isn't exciting. It is. The combat's great, fantastic, but in terms of the choices they've made and the level design, it feels very open. Sometimes you'll go into a place and you've got, like, you know, cliffs on either side and the odd cathedral and stuff, but you spend a lot of time like fighting in like very open, wide areas. I think Doom is best when you are closed in, when you feel that claustrophobia, when you are like tightly packed into like a facility or a science research center or something like that. And you don't get much of that in this game. It's very much open. You're outside a lot of the time. You're fighting these big, massive open spaces, and it almost feels like a very easy way to challenge the player in terms of like just throw as many enemies at the player as they can. I really would prefer it if for the next Doom they would go back to basics and bring it back in again and make it so you're on a facility, ideally on Mars. I love the setting of Mars for Doom. I think it's where it should be, and you know, work through it slowly again, add some new mechanics, take what they've learned from the prior games. And don't forget what made that first, I keep referring to it as the 2016 game so damn good. And they're almost there with this. They've really gone almost back to where it came from. Doom Dark Ages is an amazing Doom game, and I highly recommend it. My score for this game is a 90 out of 100, and yeah, that's all I want to say about it. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I would love a like and start a conversation in the comments. Always like to chat to people. And I will see you on the next review. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.